As we all know, Filipino architecture has a rich and interesting storyline. It has been a reflection of the country's historical and cultural heritage, from the colonial periods of the Spanish to American and to the post-World War era. It has evolved through the influence of these different historical periods. By the end of World War II, the country was on a rebuilding phase. After establishing a democratic government, the Filipino were finally set to a course of independency from colonialism. However, a threat to the democracy of the Filipino came upon in the 1970 to 1980s when former President Ferdinand E. Marcos proclaimed the whole country under martial law. By the 1980s, the country's architectural idiom was swept by the tide of postmodernism. Let's look at some of the famous architects and their works during these times. Architect Leandro Valencia Locsin is one of the famous architects of the 80s. He was said to be a favorite of the First Lady Imelda Marcos. He found himself tangled in a political undercurrent. His public buildings include the Davao International Airport Terminal Building, 1980, and the Rizal Park Amphitheater in 1981. Commercial buildings include Greenbelt Square Cinema, 1982, Philippine Commercial and Industrial Bank Tower 1, Benguet Center in Mandaluyong, Metro Manila in 1983, and the LV Locsin Building in Makati Avenue in 1987. Next is architect Froilan Hong. He was behind the construction of the Manila Film Center in 1981 under the supervision of the First Lady Imelda Marcos. On November 17, an accident occurred during its construction phase. The scaffolding collapsed, and at least 169 workers fell and were buried under quick-drying wet cement. A blanket of security was immediately imposed by the Marcos regime, and neither rescuers nor ambulances were permitted on the site until an official statement had been prepared. The rescuers were eventually permitted to go inside the accident site 9 hours after the collapse. Next is architect George E. Ramos. He is a graduate of the University of Santo Tomas and is one of the architects that made significant Marcos edifices during the late 70s until the early 80s. He was known for the construction of the Lung Center of the Philippines, which was finished on January 16, 1981 under the presidential decree of Ferdinand Marcos. Lastly was Francisco Bobby Manosa. He was considered one of the influential architects of the 20th century and was known for Tahanang Pilipino or the Coconut Palace, which was completed in 1980. The palace was designed as a guest house commissioned by the government for foreign performing artists. He was also behind the iconic Edsa Shrine, which was built after the Cardinal of Manila asked him to design a structure to commemorate the People Powers Revolution, which brought the Marcoses on exile. These are some of the famous architects of the 80s. Basing from the works of these architects, it seems that majority of the structures were somehow directly and indirectly influenced by the government. An architectural style emerged in this period called Brutalist architecture, which descended from the modernist architectural movement and is characterized by government-built structures done in the Marcos period. That's it for the architectural period of the 80s.